When I got home from work, I found a small box, wrapped in brown paper, secured with willy-nilly slashes of Scotch tape. Obviously, this was not Amazon. My second clue was the return address. My oldest brother, who lives in Missouri, had sent it. He is very funny. We have a contest every year where we try to outdo one another with wonderfully weird birthday cards, so I was prepared for anything in this box. I ripped off the paper and found a box for a handheld dirt devil. I opened that and found lots of paper. I rummaged through the paper and found a small jar of dirt. Yes, dirt! It wasn't until I turned it around that I saw a little label, affixed with another slash of frosty Scotch tape. I read, Andale Farm Soil. Our dad was from city of Andale. His dad was a framer. My dad was one of 13 children. During the Depression, my grandfather lost the farm. They moved from one rental house to another, one poorer than the next. The children, including my father, were sent to farms to work. My dad was so little, it's hard to imagine. He grew up, he served in the Navy and went to school on the GI Bill. I don't know how or why, but the story goes that the local doctor and the town helped a little to pay for medical school. I do know he waited tables at the rich boys' fraternity and worked as a professional mourner. Yes, people who mourned the dead for the mortuary. I know he struggled greatly with his studies. I can only imagine how one could concentrate when they were hungry and tired and beholden to a town. But he became a doctor. He had a large family. There are 6 of us children who survive him and my mom. One year when he was settled and successful, he bought a little farm in Sanger, California. He and Mom drove there every weekend. They grew walnuts. Sometimes Steve and I went, but farming wasn't our thing. What I did notice when we were there was how happy my dad was renovating the little dilapidated house. I thought it should be a teardown, but he made it beautiful. He loved walking in the fields, telling us about pruning and farming stuff. When I got the little jar of dirt, it all came back. He was a great doctor, but what he loved was the earth and growing things. He was a farmer's son, a son of Andale, his entire life. When I visit my parents' grave next, I promised my brother I would take some of that Andale soil and work it into the dirt. I think Dad will like that and Mom will understand. I wish I had been smarter when I was young, smart enough to know what was in his heart. Ah well, I have the dirt. I'll remember now. Whenever I stay at a hotel in US that has the complimentary soaps attached to the shower wall, I am faced with one of my peeves: the lack of consistency and reason in the placement order. Today it was as I think it should be. Left to right shampoo, conditioner, body wash. But I have to stop and read because they could be any which way. My secondary thought is, are they reliably filled to match the labels? Yes, I am a fan of their convenience and do not bring along my own. Luckily, this chain normally has a banana available as a breakfast item. So I am prepping Canadian Smarties for some baking I am working on for a large event. I was completely perplexed. Of the 24 boxes I opened, there was only 6 that contained blue. It seemed that the blue boxes were more likely to contain brown as well, but there were a few brown in the other boxes, so that is not a hard rule. There was no distinguishing features common to just those boxes. It is rather disappointing, as the theme of this baking would lend itself to all the colors other than pink and purple. So the fact that yellow, brown, and blue makeup suck a small portion of the total candies. And for transparency, a pink candy did fall on the floor and was eaten. I'm pretty dull, now that I've gotten out of jail after 13 years. Disclaimer: worked there as nurse, just retired. Just an old cat lady, 3, though not the childless subtype, 1. But my apples are not dull. Pink pearl heirloom. No color enhancement. They really are hot pink and very tasty. Grown in a city lot with orange, lemon, lime, sour orange, grapefruit and Buddha hand citron, loquat, roses, veggies in planter boxes, bulbs and color spot in pots on the deck with view of the bay. My cozy little cottage and sanity-preserving garden. Confession: Just took said apples on 2-week undull road trip Lassen Nat Park and waterfall hikes all over NorCal, a mere 96 to 98 degrees. My cozy little cottage and sanity-preserving garden. Confession: just took said apples on 2-week undull road trip Lassen Nat Park and waterfall hikes all over NorCal, a mere 96-98 degrees. You will appreciate this. For lunch, I cut up a few small tomatoes, drained and topped with the remainder of a container of balled mozzarella, and then grabbed and tore a few basil leaves and tossed all on the plate. When I sat down to eat and started arranging the pieces, there were the exact same quantity of tomato slices, mozz balls, and basil pieces. Never in my life will this happen again. Plate half eaten before I realized you may like this. Carry on and have a pleasant day. My 10-year-old daughter went back to school yesterday, so I went in to thoroughly tackle a good tidy clean of her room. I couldn't help but smile, laugh whilst putting things away. That her body spray collection is reminiscent of me at that very age. We have the own brand spray, an Avon spray, and then the obligatory Charlie and Impulse. I asked where the Avon had come from and she told me Nanny had given it her. I'm 40. 189 is the tally count on my whiteboard tracking my progress. 189 bags, bins, boxes, and armfuls have been removed from my home since January. The goal was 1 a week. A goal so low I was compelled to complete it each week. The success of meeting my goal encouraged me to do more. To celebrate, I decided to make over my nesting space, my clutter corner, my ADHD sinkhole. 3 giant bags were filled with the previous cushions, replaced with new foam and colorful covers. The pile of chaos now has 2 organizational spaces to sort into. My cozy corner is even more inviting with the upgrades. The success here is not in the number, but in the change of attitude. For years I struggled to let things go. I lived a transient life as a child, always living out of a suitcase, had to be prepared to flee at a moment's notice. Cult life. As an adult, having stuff felt like stability, until I found myself drowning in it. I attached sentimental values to items, potential projects, future endeavors. With consistent and persistent effort, I have chipped away at those insecurities of the past. I no longer need to mark a tally every time I remove an item from my home. The act itself is now the reward. Every half-done project I tossed was a release of a former self that no longer aligns with my current self. The clarity I've encountered in this process astounds me. Change is possible when you're willing to put lots of tiny efforts to achieve your objective. Live and live.